All right, welcome back to Perdido Key Gaming. Today we've got Vuca Simulations New Cold War, a game by Andoni Uribe and Igor Plaza, 1989 to 2019. Conflict simulation engineering from Germany, of course. So you got 14 plus for collectors. I don't know what that means. Playing time. 3 hours, players 1 to 4, complexity 4, solitaire suitability 8, they say. Ages 14 and up. Oh. But let's see, we went through the rules a little bit. So at first glance, got some ink there. It seemed like it was a war game, okay? But it turns out the game is actually more of a strategy game. So opened some of the cards here. So cards are pretty much just sort of like light playing cards. These are event cards. These are event cards, and these are objective cards. So you also get quite a chunk of little plastic, or you feel more like maybe pressed wood or something like that. One thing I did notice about this, though, I got this online, by the way. Check this out. Look at that. That's mold of some sort. So if you've got allergies or something like that, you may want to have somebody else open it up. It's kind of gross. You've got player boards, and you've got some other counters here. The player boards are for the 4 players. So you got China, the EU, US, and Russia. All right. Sorry, it's taking me. Anyway, and this is the game board. It's fairly heavy duty, but again, if you have cats, you're taking your chances leaving the setup in front of them anywhere. But it's pretty big board, as you can see, pretty big board. Now, the way this works at first glance is basically you are going to try to bring countries under your control as the player. All right, so that's why I'm saying it's not necessarily a war game of any sort. It's more of a use your event cards and things like that. So the event cards are arranged in decades. So, you know, during certain turns, the turns are basically, made up of phases and things like each decade is divided into 3 turns, and each turn is divided into various phases for a total of 27 turns, I guess, is the term for it. So it gives you an introduction to the components, of course. Let's see, you got your countries, regional powers, geocentric powers, and geostrategic countries and non-geostrategic countries. They're worth various victory points depending on their status. All right. So basically, you're going to gain access to regions through automatically at turn 5, through turn events, and some permanent restrictions, sub-regions, and basically each of these regions is going to have, the country is going to have various varied access and things like that to each sub-region. You can tell I really didn't read this too much. But, you know, there's war cards and things like that. And the events, you go through the event cards of you're dealt the event cards from one particular decade, and then at turn so and so you start on the second decade, turn so and so you start on the third decade. So you deal cards to each player, initial phase, exchange cards between allied players. You're all playing against each other, but the EU and the US are allied, and China and Russia are allied. So, but that's you're trying to basically keep the friendly countries out of the hands of the other guys because they're worth victory points. All right, so that's basically the way it works. And of course, the UN Security Council gets involved. Vetoes happen, things like that. And then you got the rules go into how to win, automatic victory by objectives, victory by victory points, U.S. superiority. Tells you how to earn and lose your victory points. Then you got rules for less than 4 players. You've got board interpretation, talks about how bots play the cards, gives you some examples, flowcharts and things like that, which is always good. Want to have some examples for games that might be a little complex. And you got 2-player special rules and player tutorials. And obviously you can go on YouTube and take a look, things like that. So it's, it's kind of AI driven, bot driven when it gets to, only 2 players. And especially so when you get to playing with just 1 player. So not so much of a war game as a strategy game driven by event cards. 3rd decade, you can see these. These are all the 2nd decade, 3rd decade cards. So these are the 1st decade cards, and you got some objective cards up there. So basically what the objective cards are for, you've got a secret agenda, right? So you're trying to get to a certain point where, that's definitely where if you reach your secret objective, that's worth victory points or the automatic victory and things like that. So hopefully that makes sense. Please let me know in the comments if you've gone through this game from Germany and played it. Let me know what you think in the comments. Hit like, subscribe, and we will see you the next time.